My name is Jason Benet. Today we have a very special guest.
I wanted to be different. I wanted to be something more than just a gross out horror film.
It was required by your contract that you had to deliver nudity and violence.
Wow, that really looks gross. Like, it's real.
We were actually in the cave, so there weren't any crocodiles there. The water was freezing. We didn't actually swim in them.
You know, I was scared, but I really liked the rush of it.
I'm a huge Dario Argento fan. I would happily have a giallo night.
The Thing and The Stuff. It sounds like I'm just saying gibberish, but those are names of movies.
The horror genre always evolves into something you're not expecting.
Why are we going here if everyone's died in this house?
I was actually scared as we were running through it.
Most of these guys who play really horrible characters are such sweet guys.
Part of this ongoing cult.
Anytime there's something spooky to be seen or heard or read, I'm there.
Horror has always felt like home to me.
Benet's Bloody Bits.
Welcome to Triple B. My name is Jason Benet. Today I want to go down memory lane for me. Been a horror fan since I was 5 years old. Always loved films, always loved cinema, but I never had aspirations to be a director or an actor. I just kind of like being a fan, being a cinephile. But when the opportunity comes to be in a movie, to be a background person or an extra, of course, I would jump at the opportunity. But, you know, pre-digital, pre-internet age, that was very hard. I mean, Hollywood, LA, that whole scene seemed to be, you know, a million miles away, even though I didn't live probably 40 miles away. But with the advent of social media, and particularly Facebook, I want to say around 2008, 2009, 2010, I find myself friending a lot of people that are actors or directors. And I came across, you know, people like Fred Owen Ray and Adam Rifkin and different people like that. And once in a while, they would post like a status update on their profile that, hey, we need extras for a film or background people. And so Super Shark was the first opportunity for me to be on a film set. I was very excited. I was going to be able to be in the scene as well. Super Shark, you have to remember what time this is. This is, you know, Sharknado was huge. So everybody was trying to capitalize on the popularity of that series. So Fred Owen Ray, who's been doing, you know, horror and exploitation since the 70s and 80s, he jumps on and he does this film called Super Shark. So my scene is basically, it's a bikini contest in a bar. And what's extra cool about it is the MC of the event is Jimmy Walker from Good Times. Now, I grew up watching that show. So this was awesome. My first movie, the first time I'm on a set and I get to be in a scene with him. And he's showing these girls and they're in their bikinis and stuff. And I'm just a patron at the bar. And right next to me is filmmaker David Dakota. And if you know, David's, you know, he's a gay man. So I joke with him the whole time, like, this is the best acting I've ever seen, because, you know, there's half-naked girls up in front of us, and he just kind of laughed it off and joked, and it was a really good time. Fred was very easygoing and smooth on the set. So yeah, Super Shark, that was the very first opportunity I got to be in a film. With the childhood, you know, fan, I was, you know, I always watched Good Times growing up in the 70s and stuff, but I was told, do not say, you know, off screen, you know, Dynamite, don't say that to him. He really, it's getting old and he doesn't really like it. So I actually didn't approach him. I take these things case by case, whether it's going to a convention or being on a movie set, to not approach people. Just, you know, I got the moment, right? I got to be on film with him. That was enough. So that was Super Shark. Then Jose Prendez wrote a film for the Asylum called Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark. So now we're kind of like, you know, Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. And this was shot on the streets of Los Angeles. It was a hot day. I want to say it was a Sunday, but it was a lot of fun. I got to be in a scene with Jose and Brendan Mitchell. As you know, was Wet Movie 1. Toward the end of the film, Mecha Shark makes his way on the shore. And I'm kind of like this, looking up, you know, to the horizon. That's something that wasn't there, obviously. That was done in post-production, but it's me, Jose's wife, Brendan, and then later on when Mecha Shark makes his way onto land, I'm running up and down the streets of Los Angeles. I think Brendan's in the scene as well. Hot Day, uh, not the most glamorous life. That was the thing I learned about being on the set of films. It's really tough and long hours. I did get to see a really cool stunt with the guy on a motorcycle, flying off a ramp. So yeah, that was fun. Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark, written by Jose Prentice, released by the Asylum. Debbie Gibson, who I grew up in the 80s, she was a huge pop star. She has a role in the film. So I go from Jimmy Walker to Debbie Gibson. And then I get to be a DJ in a film that Fred Olen Ray produced called Jersey Shore Shark Attack. And it's exactly what you think it is. This was the height of, Jersey Shore, the reality series on MTV. I'm an older guy, so where do they put me with all these youngsters? And so they had me be the DJ, and they didn't really give me much advice on what to do. So I didn't know if I was to pump my fist or be smiling. So I was very more serious. That's, just kind of had to go with the flow. And one of the production people, gave me a compliment because of my chrome dome, said, "Hey, you look like Moby up there." So that was cool. And that was fun. If I remember right, that was Redondo Beach Pier. It was so long ago, a dozen years ago or so. So all these memories are kind of, getting all scattered around in my brain. But, being Jaws is the first film I ever saw when I was 4 years old. It's only appropriate that I was in 3 films with Shark, Super Shark, Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark, Jersey Shore Shark Attack. Now I get to be in an anthology horror film, and I've always dug those. It's a Chillerama, 4 episodes, one directed by Adam Rifkin, Adam Green, Tim Sullivan, Joe Lynch. I got to be in 2 of them, and I actually think they're the better of the 2. Of the 4, those 2 are the strongest, not because I'm in them, but they just are, work the best. Joe Lynch does a zombie episode in a drive-in, and I haven't been in a drive-in for years at that point. So it was awesome to be at an actual drive-in. It's closed now, but I got to be done up as a zombie. I mean, who doesn't dream about being a zombie? And the makeup artist people, they like somebody who's bald because I have a larger canvas to work with, where if a person has a full head of hair, they could just really do their face. Well, for me, they're able to do my face in the back of my head and put like a bullet wound and blood. And, we're supposed to be these sex crazed zombies. And so it was fun, but it was cold, man. California cold. I know people out there probably like, California doesn't get cold. Trust me, in winter, 2:00 in the morning, running around, you're freezing your butt off. But totally worth it. Had a blast doing it. I got to be a zombie. I grew up at Dawn of the Dead and Gates of Hell and, Zombie and all these films. And so that's awesome. I got to be a zombie. And then I was in a couple different parts in Adam Rifkin's story, which was Wadzilla, which is, a spoof on Godzilla, but it's a big, wad, it's semen. It's goofy, but it's absolutely the best story. Spoiler alert for if you haven't seen the end, because my major scene, if you would say it is toward the end. So the military comes in, puts a airstrike on Wadzilla, and he blows up into pieces. And of course, this is like, the jizz scene. There's different people that are getting hit. I got to watch the guy in front of me. We're on the set of like Adam Green's studio, Ariscope. And so, this is, low budget horror. And the guy before me, I watched him, and somebody got up on a ladder with something I hope that wasn't really jizz. Of course it wasn't. But that person got up on the ladder and then dumped all this liquid all over his head, but he kind of ducked. And you could see it in the movie. He's the guy right before me. I'm the firefighter. But so he ducked, and they're like, "No, don't do that. We want it to be more, you don't see it coming." Pardon the pun. And I just fucking took it. So you just see me get hit in the face. And yeah, what memories, right? I'm sure my daughter, when she gets older, will just fucking shake her head and be like, "What the hell were you thinking?" But again, I love B movies and horror and exploitation. So I got to be in this anthology. And even the beginning of the movie, there's some cars that are lined up to go in the drive-in, and my old car from then is one of the cars that's waiting for the drive-in to open. So yeah, Chillerama was a blast. I got to be in another Fred Olen Ray film. It's a thriller, less horror, kind of a supernatural thriller called After Midnight. And this one really stuck with me for a couple reasons. One, again, I'm a patron, but this one time at a strip joint. I'm next to my friend Daniel Del Pozo. He's the owner of Culture Shock Releasing. And we're supposed to be giving money. You know, we're putting money to the stripper. That's played by Christine Nguyen. Been in a lot of Jim Wynorski, Fred Olen Ray films. She's never been one shy about taking off her clothes. So yeah, rough day at the office for us to get this beautiful woman in front of us, taking off her clothes, and we're giving money and stuff. But I remember something later on in the shoot. I'm just off screen. I'm not in the movie at this point. And Tawny Katane has a role in the film. So I'm off to the side, and Fred points to me and he tells Tawny, hey, I want you to walk, in front of the camera in this scene. Walk to Jason. Oh, Jason, wave your hand. And I wave my hand. And so she walks over, and she's off camera and I'm off camera, and she gives me a big hug. I don't know her. I've never met her. And I just thought that was really nice, really sweet thing for Tawny to do. She could have just been a diva and not even acknowledged me. So when I think of Tawny, rest in peace, I don't think about Witchboard. I don't think about her dancing on the car and, the White Snake, Here I Go Again on my own music video. I hope I got that one right. I think they were a one-hit wonder. I sure in hell don't think about the tabloids. I think about Tawny being, really nice to me that day on set. So, really good memories there. And then I also was in a film called Nuclear Family, post-apocalyptic thriller with Ray Wise. This one I had to drive really far. I don't even remember where it was. It was up in the hills. It was dangerous. I thought my car was going to fall off the cliff, but that was a lot of fun. I made the mistake of being in this film about 2 days before my daughter was born. So my wife is, due at any moment. And I'm really far from home, really far from the hospital. And in the back of my mind, I kept thinking of there's an episode of Amazing Stories called Mummy Daddy. And it's about this actor on the set of a film, and he's playing a mummy, but he runs afoul of a real mummy. And so he gets the call from his wife, I'm going into labor. And the whole episode is him trying to get to his wife to the hospital to see the birth of his child. And this mummy's in the way. So I kind of thought, you're a dumbass. You're going to be like that movie, and you're going to get that call, and you're going to have a hard time getting through LA traffic, which is always a nightmare. Luckily, that didn't happen. I was there to cut the umbilical cord and see my daughter born. But yeah, Nuclear Family made me think about that episode of Amazing Stories, Mummy Daddy. I also got to be in another film directed by Jose Prendez called Blood Brothers, also called The Divine Tragedies. I think it's his best film. It's very David Lynchian. I got to be in a scene, not directly with Ken Foray from Beyond. I was supposed to be in a scene where kind of like you could see us both, but I just kind of am looking at like a picture on the wall, and I walk across the scene. But I got to meet Ken away from the convention scene, so it was more organic. Got a picture with him, so that was a good time. And also I had a small part, kind of just walking in front of the camera in a Rolf Konecki film called Adventures into the Woods. It's kind of like his take on Emmanuel. He had the rights, and he did a number of Emmanuel films. They starred Ali Hayes, who was a porn star that was kind of going into mainstream. And I got to meet her on set, and that was overnight. And that was a lot of fun. I also got to be a DJ again in one of those Hallmark style films directed by Fred Olen Ray called All I Want for Christmas. And what I remember most about that film, other than it just being a long day, is the extras, the people, the background people like me. When we got lunchtime came and we got served, craft services, a lot of them were complaining like they were A-list stars about the food, and I just kind of like, what? I didn't say nothing. I don't want conflict with people, but I just sat there and went, what the hell? You guys we're nobodies. And we actually, for these films, you get a little bit of a money, like $100 or a couple $100, which is great. It's, the cherry on top. I would gladly do these films for free. So I didn't have a problem with it, but yeah, that's all I remember. All I Want for Christmas, fun time, got to be a DJ with the, Santa hat on and all that. But I just remember the other background people being stupid. And to wrap it up, the last movie I ever did, I got to be a movie theater patron for a film called Theater 9. It's kind of like a reenactment, kind of docudrama on the Aurora, Colorado shootings, the Dark Knight Rises, where the gunman went in and murdered a bunch of people with the AR-15. So that was humbling. And one of the producers and stars of the film was actually a guy that was at that theater. So it kind of brought everything home. Everything came full circle. And yeah, very somber. I couldn't help but, while I'm in the theater, thinking about this could happen to anybody at any time. So, you're looking at the exits where you would never look before. So that was really a hard experience, but, rewarding at the same time. And that's what I like. I did all these background extra work, but, I did a lot of, weirdo movies, sexy films, exploitation horror, but I kind of ended it with, something a little bit more serious. So that definitely brings, emotions up when I think about it. But yeah, it's been years since I've done it. I feel like that's behind me. The best thing that I got out of being an extra in any film is when I review films, I'm not as harsh as I used to, because regardless of whether it's a $100 million film or a $50,000 film, it's so hard to make a film. The hours are long. You're working overnight, graveyard shift, 12, 14 hours, and you're doing that a number of days in a row. So I have massive respect for the people that do films. So I don't really, like I said, I don't get worked up, and, that's why I kind of stay away from that negativity. I've done a couple of videos that were like that, but in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have. So yeah, I'm going to Super Shark, Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark, Jersey Shore Shark Attack, Chillerama, After Midnight, Nuclear Family, Divine Tragedies, Adventures into the Woods, All I Want for Christmas, Theater 9. Had a blast on all those films. If anybody out there has had the chance to make movies or be movies or be in films, and talk about it in the comments. I'm open to hearing everybody's story, and social media really was the key. I don't know if I could have been in these films pre, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all that. And it's a blessing to live in Southern California, which is, there's so many movies being made every day in LA, Hollywood, Inland Empire, that surrounding area. So always keep an eye on your social media accounts. Follow those people that, make films, and you never know that opportunity could come your way. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for the support. I've been doing this a little bit over a year, and I'm having a blast doing it. I'm going to be doing this for years to come, but thank you. Stay scared, and talk to you soon.